Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode. I'm so happy to be here. I am back today with a solo episode, and I polled my audience asking them what is it that you guys really want me to talk about on my next solo episode, and it was unanimous. Without me even prompting or suggesting, all of you asked about suggestions, ideas, how to improve morning routines. I'm guessing this is because we're in that back to school hustle and bustle, and this can be a stressful time of year. It can feel chaotic. Always transitions, changes, new routines can always bring up stress, not just in our kids, but in us too. I know a lot of parents who love this time of year because it sort of symbolizes stability and routine and predictability to some extent. And we really enjoy that and we thrive in that context. And I know some parents are like, well, we have to get up early in pajamas and packing lunches and getting outfits ready. And, the list goes on and on. So depending on which camp you're in, I'm going to kind of speak to both today. And I'm going to walk you through some unconventional tools that I have used both in coaching that I've used myself. And I'm going to kind of steer clear of like what I think is typical conventional advice, like wake up 5 minutes before and like, oh, that's fantastic. You guys already know that. So if you can do it, great. But I'm going to try to give you guys really tangible, concrete tools to put into place so that your mornings just go a little bit smoother. Because I am a big believer that your morning routine and your evening routine, even after your kids go to sleep, how you start your day and how you end your day is so important. It really bookends the whole process in between. And so when we don't have a strong way to anchor in the morning and a strong way to complete our day, it's really messy in the middle. So I always like to kind of think about, even when I first start coaching anybody, it's like, where are we in that morning and in that evening practice? Like, what does that look like? Because I think we sometimes can get lost in the chaos and the busyness that is life, right? Especially as parents of, especially if you have younger kids or, you're a busy working parent and you have to get kids places and get yourself somewhere and then dinner. And I mean, we know we can go on and on about all the responsibilities that it is to be in our shoes. So before we get started, I wanted to mention a couple of offerings, just so you know. Number one, make sure you are on my email list because I'm going to host a free workshop in September virtually. So you want to be on there. I'm going to speak to this idea of what I call the time conundrum, which is this notion that we all feel like we don't have enough time. There's just this time scarcity that circles us at all times, and it just feels like we're chasing the clock. I polled my Instagram audience in stories and asked how many of you feel this way, and it was 100% unanimous. Not one person said like, oh, I don't feel that way. Like everybody feels this time crunch. So I want to offer you a reframe using my self-parenting tools, and I'm also going to address the idea of ruminating on anxious thoughts, worrying, and stress as a parent. We're going to connect the dots here and use the framework of time to really give ourselves a little bit of freedom and wiggle room. So make sure you are on my email list so that you know when that comes out. I always announce it to my email list first. Next, I want to let you guys know that I have opened up spots for my self-parenting program. This is the idea of sort of reparenting yourself, unearthing those early seeds that were planted that shape the way you behave now, the way we think, the way we maneuver, the way we interpret our parenting experience, the way we interpret our life experience, our relationships. If you are somebody who is just constantly feeling stuck, overwhelmed, and just deeply needing a sense of peace from within, I definitely recommend going and applying. I have 3 spots in September that I'm opening up. I do work with people for longer periods of time on the self-parenting work. It's really, really transformative. I've already completed multiple clients and they've stayed on because truly there is something kind of magical about being able to really self-discover what it is that's really in your way, and that potential that comes through and where you go and the places you'll go to are pretty remarkable. So I'm just really handing you the tools. It's a really specific process that I call my parenting process because it's the same tools that we use to parent. We need those same tools for ourselves. It's really these 5 tenets that I've cultivated that I've used in my life and have done it quite well. And I'm so excited to share it with you guys because it's also tangible. I give you a step-by-step road plan so you know what to do. We're not just kind of sitting in this ambiguous space of like, let's just see where it all goes. Like I'm actually walking you through, like next time you feel this feeling, next time this anxious thought starts to take hold of you, I want you to do A, B, and C. So it's really specific to who you are. A lot of it is intuitive nudges that come through in the session for me. So it's hard to say specifically how I would walk you through it, but if it sounds of interest to you, go ahead and apply. I would be so excited to connect with you and be able to give you a little more information on that. And last but not least, I'm still doing parent coaching. So I have 2 spots in September. If you are interested, you and your partner or just you yourself, on getting some support, this is more child-centered, struggles around tantrums, meltdowns, the teenage years, kids who talk back, power struggles, getting your kids to listen, feeling like every single day feels like an uphill battle because you just can't quite get the relationship with your kiddos the way that you want, or you just can't quite get the behaviors under control or whatever might be happening in your home, go ahead and reach out. That's also there for you. So let's jump to it. I want to talk morning routines today. So first and foremost, where I want to start is a little bit of an unusual place, but more often than not, when our morning routines kind of go sideways or go in a direction where we're not happy is when our kids end up making us late, right? So I've mentioned this before, but if you are like me and it really, really bothers you to be late, which for me it does, there's really there's like a visceral physiological response in my body when I know I'm going to be late. I start to sweat. I get really hot. I get very edgy. I'm very kind of physically sort of tapped out. Like I can just sense that I'm very irritated. I have to really like bring myself back down to earth and like ground myself because I get very, very stressed if I think I'm going to be late. So when our kids are making us late, or that's the perception, it can feel really frustrating. So what ends up happening is we're in that triggered state now of being late, and 9 out of 10 times you probably yell at your child to hurry up, go faster. Maybe you do the task for them, then they get extra mad. It results in more stress, more escalation. Maybe it's like a wrestling match, getting them into the car, getting them to wherever the next spot is. You drop off, you're like a sweaty mess on your way to work. I've been there. I'm like totally speaking from personal experience. So when that happens and we don't manage our stress in that moment and we don't manage what's coming up for us, it always leads to just a more escalated situation, a more kind of overwhelming situation. Anytime our kids can perceive or sense that we are stressed, it 9 out of 10 times stresses them out as well, right? So there is this interconnectedness that we have to be aware of. It's more of that unseen aspect of parenting. So what I want you to do is this, and this is really, really hard, but I want you to practice being late while keeping yourself calm. That's the homework. So if you have a school that will allow for you to go in late a couple of days, try it on your school days. And what essentially that's going to look like is you are going to have your morning routine in place. And then let's say it's like at the moment when they have to put their shoes on, it takes them forever. You're kind of waiting. You're saying, please hurry up. You try to help them. They push back. They don't want you to help them. You threaten, right? This is like the direction it usually goes in. Then we grab the shoes, we pick them up with just their socks on, and we take them to school that way. So instead, in that moment, I want you to shift. I want you to say, I am safe if I am late today. I'm okay if I'm late today. And I just want you to stay calm in the process of your child trying to do the thing they're trying to do. Again, this is not long term. We're only doing this for a very, very short period of time because what we're trying to do is we're trying to calm our central nervous system down while we're experiencing this trigger of being late so that we don't respond from this place to our child, which generally escalates the situation and makes it worse, and we don't achieve what we want. The more calm you are, regardless at any point in your day, your child will respond better. They will do the thing you need them to do because there is a letting go that energetically happens in that moment. And then all of a sudden things start to fall in place. So the work here is, how do I stay calm in the face of like what is one of my worst nightmares, which is to be late all the time. So you're just going to practice sitting with that feeling. I did this with a client recently, and she reached out to me 3 days later and she said, okay, I totally didn't even believe it would work. And I actually kind of rolled my eyes when you told me to do this. And we're on day 3 now, and we have not been late. The minute I stopped stressing about it, the minute I let go, the minute I just carried on while she was getting her shoes on or getting her backpack on or whatever it was, all of a sudden she was just doing it, she could sense and feel that this wasn't a thing anymore. It wasn't going to be a power struggle anymore. I wasn't concerned about this anymore. She all of a sudden got her shoes on, got her backpack, and they were ready on time. There is so much in parenting that we kind of try to control, and kids by design push against that. We know this. So use this as an opportunity to kind of go, well, what does it feel like? Like, is it really the end of the world if I'm 5 minutes late? Is like the most terrible thing going to happen? Or am I going to walk out of it being like, okay, I'm safe, I'm okay, that felt fine, it's not ideal, I'm sure there's things we can do to tweak it, but you know what, it feels a lot better entering my workday right now, not feeling like I just got thrown out of a tornado and thrust into work. So just try it. Try it. Practice being late while staying calm. Notice the while staying calm part is really critical. So you don't want to just practice being late and be stressed. That's not the same thing, right? That's what you're doing probably on a daily basis. You don't want to do that. You want to actually go back within and really calm yourself down. Don't tell them, hurry up. Don't tell them either we're running out of time. Don't make it a time pressured situation. Literally, your only work is to keep yourself calm. And watch and see how that changes. All right, my next suggestion, if you're a family that might run late or there's just some tendency to push back from your kids, different power struggles, I don't want this breakfast, I don't want to brush my teeth, whatever the fight is, right? What ends up happening is we add minutes onto the clock. So this is a really effective strategy for, I would say, more school-age kids. So we're thinking like kindergarten, probably first, second grade and up. This is actually Joe Newman's strategy, author of Raising Lions. So I am sharing it here because I love it so much. I use it in coaching too because it's just so effective. But essentially the idea is we're going to put the autonomy back on the child, okay? And we're going to say to the kids that, okay, listen, this is how much time we have to get ready in the morning, right? And every time we sort of argue or we fight about what we need to do or what we need to get done, just takes longer and longer. And then we're not using our time the way we need to, which is to just get ready or to do the thing we need to do. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to have my stopwatch. I'm going to have my timer on my phone. And I'm going to say you have 5 minutes to get your stuff done, brushing your teeth, combing your hair, whatever it is in the bathroom. If it takes longer than 5 minutes, I'm going to add those minutes together, no problem. And then after school, whatever total amount of time we ended up wasting going back and forth, we're going to take that time away from your free play. Maybe it's your time on electronics. Maybe it's your time being with friends. So let's say cumulatively your child ends up wasting 20 minutes total. They lose 20 minutes later in the day. It is so effective because here is the thing. While the wasting of the time is happening, you're just kind of calm about it because now you just know what's going to happen. There are consequences going to come. It's a good natural consequence. It's also logical. It also puts onus back on them because truthfully, if they just use their time appropriately, they won't lose any time later. So this isn't you doing anything. This is really their ability to kind of figure out how to manage it. And then you're just keeping track. So you're staying calm. And by you staying calm, it does naturally keep them calm. Most of the families I do this with, honestly, the behavior changes in almost, I would say by the second, third day, they're completely shifting. It's not that hard to put into practice, and it's really, really effective at showing your child how to demonstrate agency, autonomy over the thing that they need to do. It's not punishing or punitive in the sense that you're like, well, too bad you didn't get ready in a timely manner. You could be playing with your friends outside, but you didn't. We're not doing that. This is simply just like you have to remain team kid. You know, I say this a lot in my coaching sessions, but the way I would approach it, let's say they're bummed at that point when you're like, hey, these 20 minutes, you have to stay inside now. You can't go outside because we spent 20 minutes wasting time this morning, but whatever. Guess what? Tomorrow is a new day. And I am so excited because you're going to do it. You are going to be able to finish this in the amount of time that we have. I know you can. You always want to present yourself as team kid. The minute we move into, well, if you had done this and this and this, we are desperately trying to remain right. It's like a sense of righteousness in our own parenting boundary setting, and it's just not necessary because then our kids, particularly if you have a strong-willed kid, they bite back when they hear that tone of voice, right? They're like, well, I wouldn't have been late had so-and-so done this. Like then it becomes an argument and it just leads to other areas that you don't need it to lead to. So in general, just think about that. Just really, really think about how you could structure this in a way that it could really cause this cause and effect dynamic where they start to do better with their time. All right, number 3. I want you to think about how I want you almost to play detective here. So you're going to pull back and I want you to think about all the times in the morning that go awry or what doesn't work. Some of you might be saying from the minute they wake up. From the minute they wake up, they fight me on what they're wearing, not the breakfast that they're going to eat. They don't want to brush their teeth. They don't want to go to school, whatever it is. If that's the case and you're in that boat where everything becomes a battle, I want you to see where can you let go? Where can you pull back? And where can we let them have some agency and some autonomy over what that morning looks like? So there are a lot of tools that you can look at. So for example, you can buy a clock, literally like a clock that, you know, it's hard for kids even if they can't tell time, but I'm going to explain to you how you're going to fix this. So it's an analog, traditional clock, and you can put little pictures in there of what they're expected to do throughout their morning. And the nice thing in that is it's kind of covering the numbers. So all they're really looking at is like, right now I need to be here. And because the clock, they're understanding that the hands are falling in the zone of what they need to be doing, they're able to kind of stay on time. Kids, particularly strong-willed kids, love to feel like what you're asking them to do isn't necessarily a demand, but that they matter. Right. So when we give them independence and we kind of say, look, I am so busy in the mornings. I am so grateful that you are old enough now that you can completely get yourself ready. You don't understand how good this feels to me. So just to help you out, here is your clock. I want you to pay really close attention to this clock because that's going to make sure that you stay on time. I'm going to be busy doing other things, but I'm here if you need me. You just call out. But I am so thankful that you know how to take care of yourself in the morning. It is amazing to me. I want you to approach it that way. I don't want you to approach it from a space of like, here, you need to be doing this or you're going to be in trouble, or if you don't get this done, you have to be team kid always. So when we look at it that way and we look at them in the way that like we really rely on you, like you are someone we rely on in our family structure, kids who are strong-willed and kind of seek power struggles, they love it. They love it. One more than that is if you could be like, hey, can you help me with something because I can't do this myself? Is there any way you could bring this heavy thing downstairs for me because I just can't carry it? Anytime we ask them to do something for us because we can't, they love it. They want to shine, and we want to give them the right ways to shine. So give them as much as you can and pull back as much as you can. I have done alarm clocks with kids as young as 5 years old. Kids can be woken up by an alarm clock. You don't need to start that battle first thing in the morning. Let them choose the alarm clock. There are so many cool ones out there, especially if you go on Amazon. There are so many fun ones that you could be looking at that are kid oriented. So just play with this, but create a schedule that they can follow, they can adhere to, and ask yourself, where can you let go, right? Like a good example of this is sometimes a parent might really be sort of adamant that they wear a certain thing. Let it go. Let it go. If there is clothing that is not functionally appropriate, like it's middle of summer and they really want to wear their fleece, or if it's the middle of winter and they insist on going to school in a tank top and shorts, like you want to take the things that shouldn't be available and keep it out of their visual field, keep it out of their physical environment, and make the choices in their room choices that no matter what they pick, it works. Maybe they don't eat a full breakfast. Honestly, it's not the end of the world. Sometimes we get really worked up about that, but let it go. They will be okay if they miss breakfast one morning. Let it go. Don't make everything a battle. Otherwise, you will create this dynamic where it's always the way you communicate, and we want to obstruct that. We want to disrupt that. We don't want that to be the case. Wherever you can be team kid, and wherever you can let go, let go. I promise you they will sense it and they will feel it. And then the last thing that I want to talk to you about too is just this idea of giving yourself enough time, right? Like when I work with families, if they give themselves enough time, even for a little bit of the power struggle that might arise, it keeps you calm because ultimately you still know you're in that window. And then as kids get better at doing these adjustments and working through some of the things that come up, you can adjust that window. So if right now it feels long, maybe after a month into school, it would be really reasonable if you're on the right track that you could be like, let's shorten this by a half hour. There's really no reason why they wouldn't be able to do that. So consider where and how you can even pad in extra time so that you're not finding yourself in that rushed state, sort of what we talked about at the top of the podcast. You don't want to find yourself in that situation where then all of a sudden you're feeling so incredibly rushed. So try these things out. Those are my morning routine suggestions. Again, like I said, I know a lot of people say, get the outfit ready from the night before and that's fantastic. If that works in your home, do it. 9 out of 10 times I have found that if you get the outfit ready the night before, and if you have a particularly strong-willed kid, the next morning they'll say they hate that outfit. And you probably know what I'm talking about. So for me, is that helpful advice? Sure. For some people, I think it can be really helpful, but play a little bit with some of the suggestions that I made today, because ultimately the work lies within us. The more we can unpack and look at some of the things that are coming up for us, let go of some of those things, the better our kids usually respond. The more we can work on our own inner being, 9 out of 10 times it results in a more quality parenting experience, and our kids always benefit, and so do we. So thank you guys so much for listening. Until next time.